Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I'm here on the Paper Tray Ink and Ink to Paper YouTube channel, and I'm taking another look at the Ravishing Ranunculus stamp set. This has these wonderful blossoms as well as some stems and leaves. I'm just going to be using the blossoms for this project, but I'll be using the leaves from another set, the Floral Delicacies, that came out not too long ago. Now, it has its own wonderful flowers in its own right, and so it's well worth having, but I'm going to be using these fabulous leaves. And then I'm also going to be using Feathered Friends Mini 1, which is a bird. There are lots of birds on paper tray ink, but I'm using the one. And now I'm using a piece of hot press watercolor paper and then some masking paper. Using the masking paper, I'm going to take the three backgrounds of these flowers, and I'm just going to stamp them onto the masking paper because I just want an image enough where I can cut them out. And so I really just need the outline. I don't care if I have anything in the center. And then once I have those all three stamped, I'm going to cut them out, and I'm going to cut very close to the edge. I'm not going to leave any border at all. If you did leave a border, then it would make the leaves look like they're standing away instead of behind the flower. So we want to get really close to that. So I cut right exactly on it, maybe slightly less. And then now I've made it a little bit larger here while I stamp these flowers so that you can see the detail a little bit better. But as always, I'm using a combination of colors. For the background, I'm using Pale Peony and Berry Sorbet. And I spritzed it with water, and I'm now going to stamp it. And you can see it gives that wonderful kind of mottled look to it. And then for the top layer, I'm using Berry Sorbet and Lovely Lady. And I'm going to spritz that as well. Everything's going to be spritzed. And then I'll stamp that on there. Now, I want to make kind of an oval shape here with these flowers and leaves. And so I'm going to start here at the bottom and work my way up. Now I've taken that mask and I'm covering up this flower because I want to stamp another flower, but I want to make it look like it looks like it's from behind. And so to do that, I have to put the mask over the flower we just did. And I've used Sweet Blush and Pale Peony for the background, and I've stamped that. And now I'm using Lovely Lady and Autumn Rose for the top layer. You can see I'm stamping right over that piece of masking paper because that's exactly what I want. I want it to look like it's going from behind, and you can see that when I get ready to peel off the mask there, now the leaf looks like it's from behind. And I'm going to stamp now the littlest flower, and I'm using Pale Peony and Lovely Lady, and then the top layer I'm going to be using Lovely Lady, Raspberry Fizz, and a little bit of Bright Buttercup. But I'm going to have that one be kind of at the top of our oval, and I'm going to stamp another one down below. I wanted that same size, so I'm going to stamp that using the same colors. Now for the top layer, with that, like I said, Lovely Lady and Raspberry Fizz and just a touch of Bright Buttercup. I like a little yellow in it sometimes. It doesn't show up much, but it's a little bit hard to see on the screen here, but it does show up in real life. And then now that I have those flowers stamped, I'm going to stamp one more, and I'm going to stamp one of the medium-sized ones. So I'm going to cover over that little one with the mask that we made earlier, and I'm going to be using the Pale Peony Berry Sorbet for the background, and then just Berry Sorbet for the top. Maybe just a little bit of Autumn Rose there just to give it a little darker look to it. And now I have those all stamped. I need to stamp the centers. I'm just going to use two colors. I'm going to use Berry Sorbet and Autumn Rose, and I'm just going to decide which ones I think look best for which flower. That center just kind of completes those flowers. And now I'm going to use these different leaves from the Floral Delicacies, and I'm going to cover everything over, use all of my masks. And we're going to start with the left side first, and then work our way around. actually from left to right. So I've got those all, they don't, you know, the masking paper sticks, but it isn't a really hard stick because you don't want it to ruin your artwork underneath. And I'm using a collection of greens, some of my favorite, which is spring moss, green parakeet, new leaf, ripe avocado, and pine feather. And I'm going to vary these leaves. These are the little bit lighter, so this is, I'm using the new leaf and the spring moss, and then a touch of the avocado. But then I'm going to go darker now with and adding some pine feather. And remember, I'm spritzing this each time because I want to, and I'm also dabbing it with my finger because I want it to blend a little bit. I don't want any hard edges. And I'm just going to use these different different leaves, excuse me. They have these wonderful sprays of leaves. See, that has a little bit different look. And I'm going to just go around and add them on. This is a single leaf. And I'm just going to add that just to give it a little extra oomph there in that corner. Then I'm going to come around and I'm just going to, just use these different combinations to going. Some of them are going to be lighter. Some of them are going to be darker. And then now I'm going to move that mask over for that little guy and the mask over for the medium. And I'm going to stamp the rest of the leaves. And you'll see when this all comes together that we've made kind of a loose kind of wreath. It's just kind of a nice oval spray of flowers and leaves. These combinations of inks I really like because they just go very well together and I can mix and match them. But as always, I do use a combination of inks on each of the stamps because I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to add another little leaf here. So I'm going to put that mask back and stamp that. Now with that done, I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to go on to this bird. And I also have the bird die. But I'm going to start out with this bird. Now this bird looks back. So he's got his head turned. So you have to kind of talk to yourself about how this is going to be. I want to have the head, the very top of the head, to be kind of a dark green. I have wonderful birds in my garden, and this is modeled after one of the finches that comes to visit us, and it has these wonderful lime greens to it. So I'm using the a little bit of the avocado, the ripe avocado, and the green parakeet. And then down by the tail feathers, I'm going to be using the weather vane and the cocoa bean. And then the breast is a little bit of the harvest gold. Now I'm going to now do the next wing here. This comes together very easily. You just need to talk to yourself a little bit about where the beak goes and where that little, here's this little triangle. I'm going to make this a little bit more green. So I'm going to be using new leaf and avocado, ripe avocado, and I'm going to just stamp that right there. Now you can see how he's looking back. We're going to put his beak on and his little eye, and now you really get the gist of it. But you can see I left some white space around his head. I think that's really important. I find that I've stamped a lot of birds and it looks much better when you leave a little bit of white space in his head area, especially on his neck. And then the beak, I'm using the yellow colors, the bright buttercup, a little bit of summer sunrise. And then his feet, I'm using the true black. And now they have these little detail stamps that I really like because they add definition to the wing and to the breast. Now with that all cut out, I'm going to take this panel that we did earlier, our floral panel, and I'm going to stick it onto a slightly larger berry sorbet panel. As you probably know, Paper Tray ink has all of their inks coordinate with papers, and so you can have a perfect match. Now I'm using Sweet Celebration, the dies and the stamp set. I'm going to use that wonderful little tag. It's an adorable tag, and I'm using Happy Birthday from the Sweet Celebration stamp set. And I'm just, you can of course choose any sentiment you would like, but I'm going to use this with some happy birthday because you can always use birthday cards. And I'm using True Black, and I just lightly kissed that. I wanted to make sure I get a good impression, but I don't want to push really hard. And now I'm just kind of getting an idea where I want things. And I'm going to take a piece of gold metallic pearlized cotton. And this is a wonderful thicker kind of thread, gold thread. And I'm going to use that to wrap around horizontally a couple of times. So not only can I give a little wire for the bird to sit on, but it also kind of grounds the sentiment as well. Now I have some foam tape behind the stamp, the sentiment, and the bird, and I'll stick those down, but first we need to put this on the card base. I'm using a white Nina white card base, and I'm going to just kind of center it. The card base is slightly larger than this top panel because I wanted just a little bit of border. And now I'm going to stick these guys down, the sentiment and the bird. And always I have to do a little bit of fiddling, of course, at that very end, just to make sure I've got it just exactly the way I want it. And there we go. So I just think this gives it a wonderful vintage feel, a charming card that you can give to anyone that is celebrating their birthday, or use any sentiment that you like. It works well with any of that, and you can use any color scheme for your flowers as well. I really hope you enjoyed this another look of Ravishing Ranunculus. It's just another way you can use this very versatile set. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And then here's just a short list of the items that we used in this project, but you can pop over to the blog at blog.inktopaper.com, and you can check out a more complete supply list there. You can then find these items at inktopaper.com or foiledfox.com. We have everything there as well, and some other goodies and inspiration, so be sure to pop over there. I want to thank you again so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.